Welcome to today's episode of Direct Mail Automation School, a podcast for marketers who are looking for an edge as they deploy direct mail and omni-channel marketing campaigns. My name is Dennis Kelly. I'm the CEO of Postalytics, the leading direct mail automation platform designed for marketers to deploy automated direct mail and omni-channel marketing campaigns with the speed, integration, and analytics of digital marketing. Today, we're being joined by our guest, Trish Witkowski. Trish, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. Let me give the audience a little bit of your background here. So Trish is the CEO and founder of foldfactory.com, an international keynote speaker and an instructor for LinkedIn Learning. At the helm of Fold Factory, Trish serves as the president and is the mastermind behind the award-winning FoldRite folding template system. She has also authored several valuable resources, including the well-received Direct Mail Simplified and Paper Folding Templates for Print Design. An accomplished instructor for LinkedIn Learning, Trish holds a Master's of Science in Printing and a Bachelor of Arts in Graphic Design from RIT. Welcome, Trish. We're psyched to have you here today.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. You and I love this topic, and I think we have so many synergies. So whenever we talk, it's just so much fun. So I'm excited to come on the show. So.
Well, that's great. And hopefully we can introduce a whole new audience to Fold Factory and the work that you do. I find it amazing what you've done. And so, when I was researching this, I saw in your about statement on foldfactory.com, there's a statement that says, "You know more about brochure folding than anyone else in the world." That is quite a statement. And, I never thought I would interview somebody who's made that statement. So this is a first. Very exciting.
Thanks. It's been a long journey.
You've taken this passion for print and folding and built a business around it. So give us the origin story. How did Fold Factory get going? And what led you to start this thing up? And tell us about the early days of it.
Sure. And, it's funny how sometimes just things, it wasn't a plan for me. It just things just took shape over time. And it's weird how sometimes your life can go in different directions unexpectedly. And I was a designer, as you mentioned. My background is in graphic design. I went for a master's degree in print, and I had to come up with a thesis project. And I was working part-time as a graphic designer for university publications at RIT. And we did a lot of the same brochures over and over. And I once in a while I'd be out and about and I'd see something that I'd never seen before. And I would kind of go, well, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know that was an option. So I started looking for resources on different creative ways to fold, and I couldn't find anything anywhere. No resources anywhere. So then I said, well, for my thesis, I'll see if I can figure out all the different ways to fold a brochure. And thinking in my, 22-year-old brain, oh, this will be quick and easy. I'll get out in no time. This will be an easy project. And it just grew and grew. My research just grew and grew. And so I defended a smaller version of it for my thesis. And then the feedback on my research was so good, and the connections I made were great. And I kept kind of accumulating this collection of really cool things. I'd go to all these different printers and binderies, and I'd go through their sample departments and find all this wild stuff that nobody's ever seen before. And I just started documenting and curating a collection, looking at the folding compensation mathematics, which really all the mathematics of the dimensionality of paper and how to fold it. That's where kind of my template builder came from. Is the complex mathematics that really are a lot for people to know and do to set up their files. And so I said, I'm going to document that. And that's where that began. But ultimately, nobody wanted to talk about math. Nobody wanted to look at diagrams. Nobody wanted black and white illustrations of folds. They wanted the real samples. And I found that the only time people got excited was when I brought out physical samples from my collection. If I was somewhere in person and I would just say, oh, well, what about this? And they'd just go, I've never seen that before. What is that? And can I have one? Can I, samples would literally disappear. Normally honest people who would never take anything, my samples would get stolen because people would just go, I've never seen this. I have to hang on to this. So that's really what led to all of my research and Fold Factory and all the things that I was doing. And then 15 years ago, which is kind of the ideal time, the Wild West for YouTube, the beginning of video for B2B. That's where I really started the show, Fold of the Week. And that's kind of what put me on the map. So um, it kind of all
Some
went from there.
amazing success with Fold of the Week on YouTube. You started in 2009, and
Yeah.
it has to be the print industry's most watched YouTube series. You've done over 650 episodes and have over 30,000 subscribers. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
How did you build it into being this powerhouse? And how can marketers learn from what you've done there to translate, some other ideas on YouTube? Like what was a sweet spot that you found?
Well, my sweet spot really was, I think, there's a formula to the show, and I think people fall in love with that formula and they kind of expect it. And so I think where my strength is, or uniqueness, I guess, in the industry, is that I have a creative background, a design background, and a production background. So I'm not just saying, here's a great idea, good luck with it. I'm saying, here's a great idea, and here's how it's done. And there's I think a lot of power in that, and it then became attractive to both audiences. Designers wanted the ideas and to see, and then printers also felt there was some education in there to help designers, and that kind of bridging that communication gap. I think as a YouTube creator, a big part of success is showing up on a schedule. You really can't kind of randomly create stuff and expect to build an audience. They don't know when you're coming. They don't, I became a part of people's week. And, every Thursday at 11 o'clock, the email would show up. And there are people that would send me pictures of their dogs jumping up to watch it, the show, or people saying, this is one of my, my favorite Thursday activity. You start to build, you set those expectations and you fulfill them every week. But you also can't just check a box every week. I mean, I knew that, I'd rather skip a show than put out a bad show. And so every week, every episode has to be high quality. And the moment you check out or just start to phone it in, is when your audience can feel that. And that's when you start to lose everybody. So I think you have to be able to commit if you're going to, develop a community and build and also generate, like I did, sponsors and things like that. You really do have to produce, and you have to produce on a schedule, consistently. So that's also really, really, really important. And then I also just always kept in mind my audience. I kept my finger on the pulse. So in my early days, I was more about wow factor. How can I, shock everybody with this craziest thing they've ever seen? And over time, and, Dennis, this, at Postalytics as well, people's, the economy changes, budgets change. People want to get into mail that have maybe never done it before, and they can't start with the World Series of Mail on their first mailing, of something wild and crazy. It's kind of, how can I get people something that they can use today, ideas that are practical and accessible for my audience? And so I really did start to focus on accessibility. And I think that's also something that resonated with the audience and helped me grow, was that stop, not always focusing on these wild wow factor things that very few can produce. And I think that also was a shift for me.
Well, I think that those lessons really reflect such strong marketing fundamentals, right? So, know your audience, and I think often as marketers that are inside of an organization, inside of a company here at Postalytics, we're obsessed with the details of what we're doing all day long. And so you kind of want to show the more advanced thing. You want to mix it up.
Yeah.
You get bored, right? With some level of information that you have to transmit, and in doing so, you're losing the fact that your audience, in your case, is checking in once a week, which is amazing, right? And not every marketer gets that. So your audience,
Yeah.
they may actually get something from you once a month or once a quarter, and it's one of 50,000 things they're dealing with all day. And so, keeping it basic and scheduled and
Yeah.
consistent, right, is a
Yeah.
key to any marketing. And so, I really applaud you for figuring that out and then really leaning in on that vein to create that success.
Thanks. And it over time it gets easier. I mean, it's never easy, but over time, in the beginning I felt like I look back at my old videos, my first 50 or so, when you're uncomfortable and you're a little bit nervous and you maybe talk too fast or too slow or and then over time you have to kind of see it like having a conversation with your audience. It's a warm audience that wants to hear from you. And it's all about, communicating with them. And I think if you can shake that out of your mindset of, oh my gosh, like, I'm recording this. What if people see it? What if they don't? You have to just kind of trust your work and, commit to it. And I think too, a lot of content creators probably quit too early. It's depressing in the beginning when you put all this work into something and you kind of feel like your expectations for views maybe don't meet what you're getting. But you have to kind of stay at it and improve. And over time, you start to build a body of work that, picks up speed. Like my sponsors didn't come in until about after episode 50. You have to kind of prove a couple of things. You have to prove you're going to show up. Like if I just started a show and said, I'm doing a show and sponsor it, it's kind of, is she going to really do this? Are people going to show up? And you kind of have to get some legs on your show. You have to prove that you're going to do a quality and that you've actually got the material to create quality every week, and I also, I think, I had a good collection of materials, show worthy stuff, but I don't know that I thought I'd be doing it for 15 years. So I also had to trust that I'd find more or that people would send me more. You gain momentum and then you kind of go, okay, now I need to keep going here.
Right. Yeah. So. Well, we're going to come back to this idea of like starting in a new channel. Right. And I think some of those lessons really apply, that you got to grind, like anything else, you got to grind and get through the tough times, stick with it. And eventually momentum sort of picks up.
Right. So and it's like mail. It's a relationship, right? It's repetition. It's multiple hits. It's not a single time, right? And so video and mail and, it kind of all relates. It's these multiple exposures. Same with digital,
Yeah. It's marketing 101 and, so often we get kind of pulled away from that. So with all that, at the end of 2023, you announced that you're ending the Full of the Week YouTube series, which I'm sure your audience was very upset. But you're shifting your attention to creating some online courses to help marketers leverage the power of direct mail in today's digital world. So it's a big shift. You're no stranger to online courses. You've already done a bunch of work on LinkedIn Learning, and you've taught 65,000 folks, lessons through LinkedIn Learning courses. So, with this notion of leveraging the power of direct mail in today's digital world, it's something that, we're really passionate about. And it's really what was one of the inspirations behind the launch of Postalytics Academy, which is our new online learning tool inside of Postalytics. So we're super excited to talk about it and learn more, about your thought process, what led you to that decision to make this big shift from, polling into direct mail and then changing your channel also, right, from YouTube to online courses. Walk us through all of that.
Sure. It was a big decision. And I thought about it for a long time. I almost ended at 500 episodes. It seemed like a nice round number, but then everybody's like, onward to 1,000. And I was like, okay. So I kind of kept going a couple more years. And I've always wanted to do a course on direct mail, and really the pivot from folding as a subject to direct mail had more to do with the fact that format is a tool in the toolbox. It's not the tool. It's not the only thing. And I get so many questions about, how, other things related to the process of creating mail. I've done courses on, and books and things on direct mail strategy. And I kind of said, everything, so much has changed, as you know, Dennis, and you guys are really, with with the direct mail automation and, making things easier for people, not only from, the sending and the layout and all the other things that I think hang people up and keep them from creating mail. And what I really want to do with this new course is, yes, to cover the foundations that we really have to always remember, but I also want to bring everybody up to speed on all of the different things that have changed in the technology side of mail. And a lot of people see it as this very, snail mail, it's boring, it's old school, but there's incredible power in tangible media, and that print marketing plays really, really well with digital. And I just want to bring the two together and to get everybody up to speed and thinking about what they can do to leverage, all of what's, in front of us and available. So I'm pretty excited about it, and the thing about doing a weekly series is it takes up a lot of your time. And so does a course. So it was kind of, I had to choose one or the other. I kept putting it on my list to do a course, and then I'd kick the can down the road. Another year would go by and I'd be like, I never did my course. Well, yeah, I do a weekly series, and it's just like, by the time you do that, there's no time. So it really just became I just want to do something new. And I want to really get all this info out that I know people want and need. So that's kind of what initiated all of this for me. So.
Well, that's really great. And it's funny that, you've sort of arrived at this place. Postalytics has arrived at this place. And really, if we're going to help people be successful, they've got to learn. They've got to learn the basics, the fundamentals, and
Yes.
learn about them from a new perspective, right? Because, as you said, everything has changed. This is not the channel that it was back in the 80s and 90s in the junk mail era, when it was just spray and pray. This is all very, very different. And so, this idea of leveraging the power of direct mail in today's digital world, it is a digital world. Right? And direct mail.
A lot of designers are digital first, and I get that. I mean, it's just what happened and evolved. And it's kind of, how can we, help them learn to use print as a tool, as a powerful tool and companion to their digital campaigns to get that added lift. There's just so much there. And living in a digital world, print stands out.
Yes.
So it's how can we kind of helping connect these, relationships and build them, and brand, relationships as well, and just help people use it as the powerful tool that it is. So it's fun, and it's actually a fun and exciting time in mail. I just think a lot of people don't realize it. And so, yeah.
Very cool. Well, so we're all about helping the audience here at the Direct Mail Automation School. So give us some couple tips, bullet points. What are from your perspective, the top keys to being successful in using direct mail in conjunction with digital marketing?
So you definitely have to think about the two have kind of different roles. Digital is about, engage and, keep people interested, and print is to slow people down and drive them to action. So think about it kind of within the customer journey. There are going to be points you're getting these multiple digital touch points, and then print slows them down and gets them to look and get interested, and then to drive them back. Because Google has a stat, it's like 98% of people will visit your website and without taking action, and will leave. So it's kind of, okay, good for you, digital ad. You got them there, but they left, which is what pretty much everybody does. They look, they think about it, think about your own kind of buying habits. I never buy on the first exposure to something. You kind of think about it, and you get reminded of it here and there. So once they've left, okay, like how do we get them back? And as you know, Dennis, I mean, the technology of this, right, and direct mail automation, and how do we get people back? We send them a postcard, we send them a mailer, we send them a catalog, something that then, and how many times have you shopped with a catalog in hand? There's stats on this where most people kind of, they grab the catalog, they bring it to the computer, they key in the codes, or they shop with the catalog in hand. That catalog is the thing that drove them to go back to the web and buy. So, there's some pretty famous case studies on that as well, of companies that stopped sending their catalog, and then, the sales dropped, and, they thought, oh, it's all digital. And it's like, no, the catalog drove the sales. And then they went back to using a catalog. And so the powerful and even simple things like postcards can drive people right back to, take a look at the thing that they were looking at. So, and that's the wonderful thing with the technology of it. You were looking at a pair of shoes, you get the postcard for shoes, you head back, or the special offer on the shoes, or, it's that technology that creates timely and relevant media that then drives you back. So that's where I think the two work really well together. Also, email timed with mailings, a lot of things like that are really important as well.
Sure. This idea of speed, I think, is really interesting, and I haven't really heard this discussed before. But the idea that in our digital world, in our minds, everything is happening so quickly, and our attention span, right, is shrinking, and everybody's multitasking, looking at your phone while you're doing other things, and this idea that there's a marketing channel that can pause that for a moment, right, and then help you absorb and probably help you commit and move you along a little bit more, right? I think that's such an interesting angle. There's all this research that's been done about the way that our brains operate when we are holding something, a physical thing, and perceiving things like brand, retrieing information about what you're reading. There's, our brains are so much more effective at absorbing messages and information that way, because that's really how we were designed, right, as humans to be, right, with holding things and leaving the real world rather than digital things. So I think what you're saying about this idea of speed makes so much sense. And they call it snail mail, right? It's not really snail mail anymore with automation, right? It's all running 24/7, 365. Things are being triggered out of your marketing automation tools. But this idea that you can slow down that consumer and slow down their mind a little bit to, get that message and absorb and have a nice pause in their day, in that digital first day. I think that's super powerful.
Yeah, and it's a welcome thing. It's something, nobody's pushing me to do it. I can look at it on my own time. You look at something digital, you could click and go somewhere totally, somewhere else. Something can distract you. A printed media, it's not going to move. Like, your brain knows that it's not going to move. It's not going to change. You can, it's less of a kind of an energy load to read it because it's not moving and changing, and that's the powers that people actually enjoy, those quieter moments without distraction, and taking their time to look through something. So it's powerful how it works, and it's up to marketers to really leverage that. And I think that side of it is really important to understand.
Well, great stuff. So with back to the online courses, give our audience a little preview of what you're planning. First of all, these are marketers. So who's your ideal customer, right? Who are you targeting with this? And then what value do you see? What pain points are you addressing? What's the value proposition for that ideal customer?
Sure. So I see this course. I mean, to me, as I'm creating it, I'm creating this course for not only digital first designers, people who might be asked to send mail or who want to send mail and want to get into it, but can't crack open the direct mail DMM, hundreds of pages and trying to figure it out. It's kind of, how can I get this foundational information combined with today's updates and a combination of print plus digital strategy to just get everybody up to date. So this is for people who want to send mail or are digital first, people who design for mail maybe currently and are feeling pretty stale with it, feel like they kind of are looking for something new and some fresh ideas and an update. And this is also for people who might, may be decision makers in this as well. Marketers who might be trying to allocate, how much print do we want to send? How much, do we want to use this as a medium? It's kind of, how can I present the full picture for anybody who kind of is in that decision-making process as well? It's not going to get super deep into the weeds of, these are all the specifications that you need for all of this. That might be in resources, but the course itself is about, and also, by the way, it's not about just big ideas. Here's some wow stuff, no, it's really, I'm a very tactical person. I like the strategies and things that are practical that people can use. So my goal is to kind of give everybody this great up-to-date overview of the process and what can be done. Here's the process, and also here's where it is and where it's going, and how to use it. And, I'll point you to some resources and tools and things. And it's really all about just getting people to understand how to use it and how to use mail and get their best results out of it. So it's very tactical. And my expectation is when people come out of it, they'll feel like I've got like 5 or 6, 10 things that I could do today. Like I want people to come out of it and say, I want to check out this. I want to do that. Not, okay, those were really great things if someday I have a really big budget. Like that to me is useless to people. So it's really all about a practical guide to today's mail, a print plus digital technology, basically.
Awesome. Well, I'll wrap up with one final question. And I think touching on this idea of being practical, that's something that's definitely what we're all about as well. And given that we're really talking about an audience of folks that are new to direct mail, what are, in your view, like the top 3 mistakes that people make when they're new to direct mail? What are the things that they'll often trip over as they are getting into the channel?
This is such a great question. I love this type of stuff because I always have like so many tips that I just want to don't do this or do that. One of the biggest things I see from people who are new to mail is this kind of instinct to design brand material rather than mail. So, meaning mail has a job to do. Mail is about sales. It's about driving people to do something. Whatever your goals are for that mailer, it might be sales. It might be getting additional information. It might be registering for a webinar. Whatever it is, there has to be a call to action. And there also really needs to be kind of a deadline to act, Otherwise, there's no way to really measure the campaign. If it's very open-ended, then how do you know what lift you created? How do you know how effective it was? And then it's very hard to attribute to it. And a lot of people who are print designers and you're trying to fight for, using print or whatever, if you have no way to attribute sales or results to it, then, how do you then justify it and keep doing it, and justify its value? So, that kind of desire to do brand design that really looks cool, but, maybe has tiny type and little reverse out stuff and things that, that look really cool aesthetically, but people are looking at it. They're looking for what it is you want. And I'm always amazed at how many mailers I see that don't really have a purpose. And I'm like, oh, what a waste of an opportunity, So that would be probably my number one. Let's see. Number two is probably and I'm a designer, so I'm not blaming designer. I'm a designer and I get this. The kind of focus and desire to go right into the design and the creative before really focusing on the foundational stuff. So, Dennis, this with Postalytics is all about timing, right? So like designing something really great, but sending it at a time where it doesn't arrive at the right time or doesn't account for the timing to mail or the, or let's say great piece, wrong audience, again, useless, right? So if you don't have kind of those foundational things in focus, the goal, the mailer, the call to action, things like that, all of those elements, even just classic 40-40-20 rule, right? Audience is 40%, offer is 40%, everything else is 20. We can argue that those ratios have changed, over time. 60-40-30 or 60-40, no, sorry, 60-30-10. I need to do my math. 60-30-10 where, okay, it's really about audience and offer. Everything else, the design is great and it's important, but it's actually less important than a relevant message and a powerful offer getting there at the right time. You know what I mean? It's like those things really, really, really matter to stay relevant, right? And to get people when they're decision making. You and I talked a lot about time and timing and about how powerful it is to get somebody while they're thinking. People are moving fast, buying fast. Okay, if you don't get back to them, they've found somebody else, right? It's kind of how do you stay in that loop and stay in that customer journey? So much of it relies on much more than design. And I say that as a designer who feels kind of heartbroken about the concept that design can be like this much of it. So that's my second one, and that's a hard one for designers to accept. And then my third is probably not using like a template or any type of a resource. I know you guys have them at Postalytics. I'm hardcore on templates and different things that help you get things the right size. A big thing about mail is sizing and proportion and, placement of the mailing panel and things like that. And if you just dive in as a designer, so I'm just going to design something, and you design something and it's the wrong proportion, it's the wrong size, it relies on everyone around you, your service providers, whatever you're doing. It relies on everyone else to catch your mistakes and hopefully fix them. And you can't guarantee that. And, you may not have time to go through and research appropriate sizes and all of that. So it's kind of, using what's available, resources, services, technologies like Postalytics that can like do all of that for you so that you're not making a expensive error. You make the wrong proportion, you end up with with a postal surcharge that really adds up. Like the things that you can do wrong because you kind of just dove in and made something. Take advantage of the resources that are available to make mail a little bit easier. To not make those expensive mistakes. So that would be probably my number three, is, focusing on the things that make it a little bit easier, so that you're not making expensive mistakes.
That all makes great sense. And so, design for performance,
Yeah.
right? Number one, you're going to get brand lift regardless.
Yeah.
But as you said, mail is primarily a performance channel, right? It's like email. It's like digital ads. It's trying to get you to do something. So design that, right?
Yes. And for traditional print designers, that can be counter to everything in their being. It's like you always want to make beautiful. And sometimes, and it sounds crazy, but sometimes ugly wins, sometimes bold wins, sometimes, loud wins. And you have to kind of accept that for the purpose of the piece, which is to drive people to do something.
That's right. So design for performance. Strategy before design, right?
Yes.
What is the purpose of
everything?
This? What is the audience? What is the timing, right? All of those things have to be in place before you start designing. And so that's a great number two. And then number three is use tools that have
Yes.
guardrails that will
Yes,
prevent
guardrails is
you.
a great word, actually.
We
Yeah.
love that word. They'll prevent you
I
from
love that word.
making, fundamental mistakes that will cost you. So if you can find tools that, force you down a path that is known and it works, follow them.
Yes.
So love it. Those are three great, great tips.
Cool.
Yeah. So, well, to wrap up, Trish, this has been awesome. Always
Oh, it's
enjoy
been so fun.
speaking. You've got awesome energy. You are the person that knows the most about folding brochures of anyone in the world, and I'll never forget that. And so,
Right.
and you're launching this exciting new venture, with your online courses. So, tell our customers, where can they get in touch with you? How can they learn more and follow you? You're thinking launching sometime this spring. Is that it?
Yeah, spring launch. And, I love when people connect with me on LinkedIn. So please, I'm just Trish Witkowski on LinkedIn. And of course, you can check out my website, foldfactory.com, and you can sign up for my email list, which is always kind of the best way to learn the latest and some inside scoop and things like that. And then, of course, if you want to check out my, almost 1,000 videos on YouTube, you can always go to youtube.com/foldfactory to check out all those videos are free to see. Don't check out the super early ones. They're embarrassing, but the later ones are pretty good.
Excellent. Well, we're all excited to see what you come up with here with your new courses, and thank you for joining us today. We've had a blast, and we look forward to connecting with you and seeing how everything unfolds over the coming year.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dennis. It's been a blast.